Hello there, and welcome to the Quiet Commodity Channel, the place where we uncover the deep history hidden inside the simple things you touch every day. Tonight, we drift back to the ancient ocean to tell the silent story of salt. I know you've had a long day. Let your breathing slow. Let your shoulders fall a little heavier into the place where you are. Let the room become quiet around you. And as you drift, let your mind loosen its grip on the bright edges of the day. You do not need to solve anything tonight. You only need to listen, slowly, silently. Salt is simple, sodium and chloride, two elements locked in a crystalline embrace. But its story is a journey across deep time, a story that begins before maps, before names, before memory. A story that begins in an ancient sea where the world was vast and the sky felt endless and everything moved in a slow, quiet drift. You imagine the early oceans not as the blue you know, but as something older, a wide, dark mirror breathing under pale light. Water everywhere. Water that holds the scattered minerals of a young planet, carrying them in silence like secrets dissolved into the deep. In that moving, restless body, salt is still only a possibility, a whisper, a future crystal not yet formed. Over time, the earth shifts beneath you, not suddenly, not violently, just slowly. Tectonic plates, enormous and patient, slide like sleeping animals beneath the crust. They pull apart, they press together, they raise quiet ridges, they open shallow basins where water can gather and linger. In these places, the sea becomes trapped in wide, low bowls of stone, a lagoon, a shelf sea, a sheltered arm of the ocean where the tides still breathe, but the exchange is thin, and the water cannot fully escape. It waits there, warm and heavy, under a sun that does not hurry. And then the vanishing begins. It is not a violent event. It is the slow exhalation of the water into the dry air, century after century. The sea shrinks, retreating from shores that are now buried deep beneath the ground we walk on. Evaporation is not a spectacle here. It is a patient subtraction, a slow erasing of the sea's handwriting. The water becomes lighter, but what it carried becomes more present. The minerals do not vanish with it. They remain, growing closer to one another, crowded into a smaller and smaller space. This is the womb of the crystal. The brine thickens, it darkens, it becomes dense, almost thoughtful. In that concentrated silence, the first crystals begin, not all at once, not in a rush. They arrive the way sleep arrives, gradually, inevitable. Within the brine, invisible lines form, a geometry you cannot hear, but you can almost feel. Molecules finding their places as if they remember an ancient pattern. The water is still. The air is warm. And then, at the bottom, a thin white dust appears, like frost settling in a quiet room. The crystals grow. Crystalline, sharp-edged, yet somehow gentle in their patience. They build themselves in slow steps, stacking and locking, forming halite. Salt becoming solid. Salt becoming time you can hold. When the basin dries further, the scene becomes even quieter. The waterline pulls back like a slow breath leaving the body. The salt crust glows faintly under a tired sky. But the story does not end at the surface. Because time keeps going, and the earth is always layering itself. Dust arrives, silt arrives, sediment drifts in, thin as ash, settling over the salt like a blanket. More seasons pass, more floods, more retreats, more layers. The salt is buried quietly, deeply. Down there in the dark, it does not rot. It does not fade. It sleeps. Down in the crushing darkness, pressure and heat work on the buried layers. The salt becomes plastic, flowing slowly like glaciers made of rock. It squeezes into domes and pillars that push upward against the weight of the world above. These are the cathedrals of the deep earth, silent and unseen, waiting for a future that is millions of years away. The salt in your kitchen, the taste of a tear, it is an echo of that ancient, vanished ocean. It has drifted through deep time to reach you. Let that thought settle in the quiet room around you. The slow, steady rhythm of the earth is the same rhythm as your breathing. Tonight, you do not need the whole history, only the beginning. Only this image of an ancient sea vanishing slowly, leaving behind a quiet crystal that will wait, buried and silent, until the world is ready to taste it. A slow vanishing. A crystalline remainder. A silent gift from deep time. Drift now. The story will wait. The story moves now. From the deep dark of the earth to the brightness of the sun. You leave the underground silence behind. Those crystalline halls. Those buried cathedrals. And you rise. Through layers of time. Through stone. Through soil. Until the world opens. Wide, bright, quiet. We are drifting across time, across continents that are still young. We arrive at a place where the sky is wide and pale. This is ancient China, thousands of years before the modern world awoke. You are standing on the edge of a great inland lake, Lake Yuncheng. It is a vast mirror reflecting the relentless heat of the sky. The water here is not like the ocean. It is thick. It is heavy with the memory of the buried past. It holds the dissolved crystals in suspension. The sun beats down. It is a slow, quiet engine of change. And here you see the first harvest. The people of this land know the secret of the water. Watch them. They are not hurried. There is no frantic energy here, only a deep, established rhythm, like the tides, figures wading into the shallows. Their movements are a slow dance, bending, rising, scraping the bottom with wooden tools. They guide the heavy brine into shallow pools along the banks. Mud walls separate the pools, creating quiet squares of water. And then they wait. They let the sun do its work. It is a partnership with the sky, day after day. The heat draws the water up into the dry air, a slow vanishing. As the water leaves, the white reality reveals itself. A crystalline bloom begins to crust over the mud. It is a harvest of light and air. Solidified, the laborers move with a quiet purpose. You can hear the soft sound of wood scraping against the earth, gathering the white grains, piling them into mounds that glisten in the late afternoon light. It is heavy labor, but it is done with patience. It is the sun made solid. It is the essence of survival pulled from the mud, drift on the currents of deep time. We move to another desert, another ancient sun, the Nile Valley, Egypt. Here, the light is intense. Shadows are sharp and deep. The sand is hot beneath your feet. The air is impossibly dry. The people of this river land understood the power of the white grain. They lived surrounded by decay. The heat claims everything quickly, but they saw how salt defied the sun, how it stopped the natural rhythm of death. You are walking through a shaded marketplace. The air is cooler here, heavy with scents, dried herbs, dust, and the faint mineral tang of the desert salt flats. You see vast sacks of it, brought by camel caravans from distant dry lakes. It is coarser here, grey and earthy, natron. They revered this power. To preserve is to deny time its victory. It is a melancholy task, the labor of holding on to what must eventually depart. The salt is brought into the quiet chambers. It is packed around silent forms, a heavy blanket of white. It is a long, slow drying. Weeks pass in silence. The salt performs its quiet work, absorbing the fluids of life, drawing out the moisture that invites decay. It leaves behind a form that will not fade, a statue of skin and bone, protected by the memory of the ocean. The salt is a promise of eternity in a world built of dust. Drift further now, as centuries bleed into one another. The secret of salt spreads. It is no longer just for the few. Listen to the sound of the trade routes forming, like veins growing across the body of the ancient world. You can hear the slow, steady plodding of camels, crossing vast, empty dunes. Their packs are heavy with the white burden. Salt is heavy, it is difficult to move, and yet it moves across the globe. Why did they carry this heavy weight across the empty spaces? Because salt is life. Your body knows this truth. Deep inside, you hold an ancient ocean within your own veins, your blood, your sweat, your tears. They are all salty echoes of that primal sea where life began. Without this white grain, the rhythm of your own heart would falter. The quiet electrical signals in your mind would cease. You would fade. The ancients knew this, not with microscopes, but deep in their bones. And so salt became precious, more precious than shiny stones that hold no life. It was called white gold, not because it sparkled, but because it allowed life to exist where it should not. It allowed journeys across oceans. It allowed cities to rise in the wilderness. It was money. It was salary. The word soldier holds the echo of salt within it. It was the heavy, tangible weight of survival. Hold a single grain in your hand, in your imagination. Feel it. It is cool, hard, crystalline. It seems so insignificant, a tiny speck of white. But within that tiny structure lies the history of human endeavor, the slow, quiet labor of countless ancestors, bending under the sun, harvesting the memory of the deep earth, so that life could continue. Let the weight of that history settle upon you. It is a comforting weight, like a heavy blanket. You are part of this long, slow story. Feel your breathing slow to match the rhythm of the ancient harvest. Slow, steady, quiet, drifting towards the resting place. The sun sets on the desert, and the story moves to a road of stone. Leave the shifting sands behind you now. Leave the heat that shimmers on the horizon. We are moving north, into a world of cooler air, into a world of order and weight. Imagine the sound of sandals on stone, a rhythmic, endless shuffling, a heartbeat of leather against the earth. You are standing on a road that stretches forever, straight as an arrow, cutting through the green hills of Italy. The sky here is a soft, pale grey. The air holds moisture. It smells of wet earth and pine and the distant sea. This is the Via Salaria, the Salt Road. It was not built for kings. It was not built for gold. It was built for the white crystal. Watch the carts moving slowly toward you. Hear the creak of the heavy wooden wheels. A low groan, like an old door in a cellar. They are carrying the harvest from the marshes, up into the hills, to the city that will become eternal. The oxen move with their heads low, their breath visible in the cool morning air. Step by step, a slow, heavy march. There is no hurry here, only the inevitable movement of the supply. Walking beside the carts are the soldiers, Roman legionaries, but they are not fighting today, they are guarding life. Look at their faces, weathered, calm. They walk with the easy discipline of those who know their purpose. There is a word born on this road, a word you know, salary. It comes from salarium, the portion of salt given to a soldier. To receive your salt was to be given the means to survive. It was a heavy, physical promise of life, placed into your rough hand. The wheels turn, grinding the stone. The sound is hypnotic, a low, rolling thunder that never breaks. The road goes on and on, leading into the deep fog of history. The road fades, the tramp of boots grows quiet, the stone dissolves into water, dark, still water. We are drifting forward in time now. The roads are broken, but the need remains. You are floating on a lagoon. The air is thick with fog, a white, silent blanket that hides the world. You cannot see the shore. You can only hear the gentle lap of water against wood. This is Venice. Before the palaces, before the masquerades, when it was just a refuge in the reeds, a city born from the fear of the mainland and the gift of the sea. Look down through the dark water, thousands of wooden piles, tree trunks driven deep into the mud, petrified by the salt and the lack of air, holding up a city of stone. The salt is the blood of this place. Imagine the wooden ships, emerging from the fog like ghosts, their sails heavy with dampness, their holds filled with the white grain, harvested from the distant corners of the Mediterranean. They are bringing it home, to the warehouses of the lagoon, brick buildings standing silent in the mist. Where the salt is piled high, mountains of white in the dark cellars. The city is quiet at night, the only sound is the water in the canals, touching the mossy stones, echoing under the bridges. A city floating on salt, wealthy, powerful, and yet surrounded by the melancholy of the sea. The fog lifts slowly. We move indoors, out of the damp cold, into the warmth of a great hall. It is the Middle Ages. The world is vast and dark, but here there is firelight. You are in a high-ceilinged room. Stone walls covered in tapestries. The shadows dance in the corners. The air smells of wood smoke and roasted meat. A long wooden table stretches down the center of the room. Solid oak, polished by years of use. It is set for a feast, but there is a hierarchy here. In the center of the table sits an object. It catches the light of the flickering candles. It is heavy, ornate, perhaps made of silver. This is the salt cellar, the vessel of honor. In a world where life is hard, salt is the symbol of status. To sit above the salt, near the head of the table, is to be honored. To sit below the salt, further down, is to be a servant. Look at the cellar closely. It is shaped like a ship or a tower, a tiny cathedral for the crystal. The lid is heavy to keep the moisture out, to protect the treasure inside. The meal is beginning. Watch the hand reach out. A hand roughened by cold winds. It lifts the lid, reaches in, takes a pinch of the white grains. It is a ritual. Sprinkling the salt over the food, the crystals dissolve, invisible again, just as they were in the ancient ocean. The fire crackles in the hearth, the logs shift and settle. sending sparks up the chimney. The warmth wraps around you, heavy, comforting. The wind may howl outside the stone walls, but here, by the fire, with the salt upon the table, there is safety. Let the image of the candle-lit hall fade. The fire burns down to glowing embers, a soft, pulsing red light in the dark. The feast is over, the hall is empty. Silence returns to the stone. You are safe in the quiet flow of time, drifting deeper into the velvet dark. The fire in the great hall dies down, and the story moves into the deep earth once more. The candle flickers and fades. The heavy wooden doors close on the medieval world. We descend again, down, deep, away from the noise of history, into the silence of the stone. You are entering the earth in Poland, a place called Wieliczka. Here, the mining was not just a labor, it was an act of devotion. It was the creation of a shadow world, a city sleeping beneath the fields. Walk down the stairs, hundreds of feet into the cool, dark crust. The air is different here, sanitized, pure. It tastes of the ancient ocean. Every breath you take is clean, clearing your mind, slowing your heart. You step into a vast chamber, hollowed out by hand, pickaxe by pickaxe, over centuries of quiet work. It is a cathedral, buried in the dark. Look at the floor. It looks like polished grey marble, but it is not stone. It is salt. Look up. Hanging from the darkness of the ceiling are great chandeliers. They do not glitter with the sharp fire of glass or diamond. They glow with a soft, diffused light. Each crystal hanging there is salt, pure, translucent, ancient. It is a chapel of silence where the miners would pray. Deep in the belly of the world, feel the stillness here. It is absolute. The rock absorbs the sound. There is no wind, no rain, only the infinite, crystalline quiet. You are standing inside the memory of the sea, carved by human hands, a sanctuary where time has stopped completely. Drift upward now, leave the underground cathedral to its eternal sleep. Rise through the layers of rock, back to the surface, back to the modern day. The world has changed. The wooden wheels are gone, but the salt remains. Picture a landscape in the distance. It looks like a mountain range, white peaks rising against a blue sky. But it is not ice, it is not snow. It is the harvest of the modern age. Great pyramids of salt piled high near the sea. They are blindingly white in the sun, a snow that never melts. It sits there, unnoticed, common, cheap. We have forgotten that it was once money, that it was once the reason for wars, that it was the difference between life and death. But its value has not changed, only its price. It is still the sacred crystal. It is still the echo of deep time. Pour a few grains into your hand, in your mind's eye. Look at them. Perfect cubes, little geometries of nature. They catch the light. They are older than the table, older than the house, older than the language you speak. They have traveled through the drying seas, through the crushing weight of mountains, through the darkness of the mine, to reach you, to be here, in this moment of stillness. Why has it traveled so far? Because it belongs to you, because in a way, it is you. This is the end of the journey, the final connection. The story moves from the earth into the blood. You are a walking ocean. Did you know that? When life first crawled out of the sea eons ago, it had to take the water with it. It had to bring the ocean onto the land, encapsulated in skin. That is what you are, a vessel for the ancient sea. Your blood is salty. Your sweat is salty. Your tears are the taste of the ocean. You are not separate from the earth. You are not separate from the history we have traveled. The salt mine is in your veins. The salt road runs through your arteries. The ancient lagoon is pulsing in your chest. Feel that rhythm now, the slow, tidal pull of your own breath, in and out, like the waves on a shore, in and out, rising and falling. The salt is home. You are safe. The heavy work is done. The harvest is gathered. The silos are full. The story is finished. The history book closes. The cover is heavy. Leather and dust, it is placed on the shelf. In the quiet library of the mind, the lights in the library are dimming, one by one. The golden glow fades, the shadows stretch out. Comforting, soft, velvet. There is nothing left to learn tonight. There is nothing left to carry. The burden is set down. The weight is gone. You are drifting like a single crystal dissolving in a vast, warm sea. Weightless, formless, timeless. The silence of the underground cathedral surrounds you. The peace of the ancient desert wraps around you. The rhythm of the ocean rocks you. Deep, slow, quiet, sleep. Good night.